This guy played so hard to the point that he was completely exhausted. And it got so bad that after the game, he was rushed to the emergency room. At the time, he had everybody in the world worried about his health. But to understand how he got to this point, we would have to start from the beginning. Matthew Dellavedova, a 6'3" point guard who was just your average player. Average athleticism, average jump shot, just average, bro. Just your typical role player, really. At the time, no one had their eyes on this guy like that. It wasn't until one day when everything changed. In 2014, LeBron James decided to return back to Cleveland after leaving them for Miami a couple of years before. He had won a couple championships, but it just wasn't the same as possibly winning in Cleveland. He was born and raised there. It was there when it was his first time touching the basketball, meeting his first love, just first everything. And plus, not to mention, he was supposed to be the savior for Cleveland after a long run of losing. So there was just so much pressure on him. So he had to get to work. But there was just one problem. At the time, Steph Curry and the Warriors was just unstoppable. I'm talking about from the starting lineup to the bench. Everybody was a threat. So LeBron was going to need all the help he could get. And at the time, no one knew Matthew Dellavedova would be that big of a factor. Let's be honest. But he proved everybody wrong. As LeBron James basically carried them all the way to the finals, Matthew Dellavedova caught fire right around the same time. In Game 2 of the NBA Finals, they were going up against the Warriors. Now, like I said earlier, the Golden State Warriors were unstoppable. And to make things even worse, Kyrie Irving was out for injury. So you know what that means. Matthew Dellavedova was basically thrown into the fire. Everybody just knew Steph Curry was about to light this man up. But Matthew Dellavedova had different plans. Even though he was the underdog, he was still going to do everything in his power to win the game. And he put that on display. He had to guard Steph Curry for majority of the game. And he actually had this man locked up. He shot 0 for 8 when he was guarding him, and he had 4 turnovers. This performance alone instantly made Matthew Dellavedova a celebrity overnight. Everybody was talking about him. But you know you always have some people that wasn't buying into the hype. They felt like it was a fluke. They had to see some more out of him to determine if he was really built like that. One group was like this.
Oh my mama, he like that. Oh my mama, he like that.
And another group was like this.
Hell no. Trash ass nigga.
So going into Game 3, he had so much more to prove to the fans and to himself. But it was during this game where everything went downhill for him. He actually ended up having the best game of his entire career. He was doing everything for his team. He was scoring a lot, he was playing tough defense, and just overall giving 100%. Now in most cases, this is the perfect scenario. You want your players to leave it all on the floor. I mean, that's a coach's dream. But in Matthew Dellavedova's case, he actually took it literally. He finished the game with 20 points, but he was in no mood to celebrate. This man was extremely dehydrated. And it got so bad that he had to be rushed to the hospital right after the game. And when they got him to the hospital, his condition was so bad that he couldn't even move. He literally had a full body cramp. Every muscle in his body locked up. They had to use an IV to get fluids back into his system, and he had to stay in the hospital overnight. Matthew Dellavedova said it himself that he probably took it a little too far. But at that time, it was just so much on the line. And even though he was laying in a hospital bed and couldn't move, all he could think about was how he was going to prepare for the next game, because the job wasn't done. He was thinking that, and the fans were thinking that as well. By the time Game 4 came around, he was actually out of the hospital and cleared to play. And we were ready to see Delly go crazy just like he did before. We were ready to see vintage Delly. But unfortunately, that just didn't happen. When he came back, he just wasn't the same. He didn't have that same effect that he once did. He was missing shots, and he wasn't playing as intense as before. And to make things even worse, Steph Curry just got hot. I'm talking about cooking this man. And it was like he couldn't miss. The Golden State Warriors went on to win the next 3 games, and they were the NBA champs. And just like that, Matthew Dellavedova, who was the viral star, wasn't talked about like that ever again. He just put it all in that one game, and it just wasn't enough. Peace.